Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Rushcast. So, what album are we doing this week? Well, we've done all the albums, so there's only one thing left to do. I've got a nice big pile of live albums, as promised. We are going to be going through all the live albums today, and we're going to whittle it down and tell you what the definitive Rush live album is. I'm joined, as ever, by my co-host, Paul Conroy. How are you, my old mate?
I'm fine, thanks, Joe. It's good to see you. And how are you?
Oh, fantastic. And as ever, Paul, drums in the band Audioscope, and you can go check out their album, Secrets and Lies. And yeah, so I suppose we better just get on with it, really, because there's a lot to go through. So
just a bit, yeah. Just a bit.
What was the purpose of a live album? The live album, to begin with, was kind of like a greatest hits, something to put out as a best of, but not quite a best of. And in the 70s, I think a lot of bands felt that the studio recordings never quite caught the energy of their live performance. And the live album came on to be a defining album for many a band, be it, standard live albums. From Johnny Cash's live at Folsom Prison to The Who live at Leeds, Thin Lizzy live and Dangerous, UFO, Strangers in the Night. The list goes on and on and on. Jimi Hendrix. Did Jimi Hendrix did Band of Gypsies, didn't he? But that was kind of post. He didn't do a live album during. Wasn't a defining Jimmy.
No.
Obviously, we've got live at Woodstock and all the rest of it, but that all came afterwards, didn't it? But I'm thinking released in a band's prime, and the two that kind of come to mind for me as a standard that anyone should go for is probably Live at Leeds by The Who, or Live and Dangerous by Thin Lizzy is my favourite. But yeah,
Live and Dangerous is good. Yeah,
but I think that was the same thing with Rush. Really, they especially the first couple of albums, there was a heaviness to their sounds that wasn't quite captured on the albums. So, yeah, should we get into the first one then?
yeah.
What do we think of All the World is a Stage?
Yeah, I've got the big print version of that.
Here we go.
I've got the big print so that I can see it. Well, what can you say about this?
Does yours fold out like that as well?
It's got a double. It's a double one.
This is
so you might have a few
replica.
Yeah. You've pretty much got. I think you might even have a few more pictures there than this one.
I think they're just.
Yeah, they're just in. I might have just embellished them slightly with the CD release. Yes. Well, what can you say about this? Rush. I don't know whether it was by fault or by design, but certainly for a lot of their history, they would do 4 albums, live album. And of course, All the World's a Stage is the 2112 tour. It's Rush in the raw. It's Rush in its purest form as a power rock trio. There's no synths. There's only the little bit of 2112, the intro. But that's it. It's just them 3 playing and going for it big time, really. Recorded. I have got a little bit of bump on this. I won't try and go about it too long, but it was recorded at, it says here, around the world, major rock bands have had their rites of passage. While American bands dream of playing Madison Square Garden, and British bands' dreams of playing Wembley. I would also say Hammersmith Odeon, as it was then as well. The dream of most Canadian rockers has been for many years to perform at Toronto's Massey Hall. And in 1976, Rush performed at this prized venue for 3 consecutive nights, which these are the recordings of.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not a perfect recording. And there are various little mistakes. You can hear little bits of feedback here and there. But I think, I don't know whether you can read it properly on yours, but on the back of the album, it just says, it is not perfect, but it is faithful to us and to you. We have tried to strike a careful balance between perfection and authenticity, and to create a finished work that you may enjoy and that we may be proud of. This album to us signifies the end of the beginning, a milestone to mark the close of chapter 1 in the annals of Rush.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly summed up there. I think this is a fantastic album. There's a real raw energy on this album, and yeah, like you say, it's not perfect, but nor does it need to be. This is Catcher in a Band, just on top form, full of energy, full of adrenaline.
Wow.
It's got a fantastic set list. It's everything you need, summing up quite nicely the first 4 albums of Rush. I would say also, what would I say also? There's just a raw energy to it, and
yeah, it's a relentless set.
Yeah,
on this,
absolutely.
You know, I mean, obviously, the centerpiece of this being the 2112 tour is 2112. It's 5 of the 7 parts. The 2 slower parts of Discovery and the Oracle have been taken out, but it's just to keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
Would you say it's the obvious highlight of this album, but there are some great versions of
everything.
songs. Yeah, everything's good.
The point I was going to make, what I forgot, it's just come back to me, is that
Brilliant.
Rush aren't a heavy metal band, but heavy metalers like them. It's the heavy metalers get them before everyone else does, and so I would never argue that they were a heavy metal band, although the first couple of albums are in those heavy metals formations. So be it Deep Purple, we could go Blue Cheer, Hendrix, Zeppelin. Then we've got Sabbath, Deep Purple, Budgie, so on and so forth. So that's the formation of what metal we would know today. You could say that for the first couple of albums. They're a metal band on this one, though. This is Rush at their heaviest and at their rawest, and that's what's great about this album. And I think this is the standard going forward. As we go through all these, this is the one to beat for me. I have now, as a Rush fan, you will never be short of a live album. So these special editions of Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, Velvet Kings, and Hemispheres have all got live albums additional with them. Right, basically they're all good and they're all worth getting. And if you've not got the albums, get these editions. If you have got the albums, I would say all of these are worth reinvesting in. One to different degrees, but they're all worth reinvesting in. We're just going to stick with the proper ones, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Right, so then moving on, 4 albums later, Exit Stage Left, which let's get that gleam out of the way. This is, again, I like the artwork because you've got little hints of
what's coming on it. Again, I've got the big print, and again, I'll take that. It's clever. It's clever with the artwork now on this.
And they do the I think I'm pretty much got it right. Yeah, they do the Kiss approach, Kiss Alive, and then Alive 2, 3, 4, and so forth. They always made sure not to repeat a song. Unlike that's for now anyway.
That's
unlike Iron Maiden, where you've got 35 versions of the same songs. But so this basically just captures nicely the next period of the band, and
it does. I think with this one there is some criticism of how it was mixed. They felt it wasn't as raw.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Some fans would say that it's a little bit too sanitized. It's been mucked around with too much because Alec Lifeson's guitar is quite low. And of course, this Exit Stage Left was the Moving Pictures tour. Although the second side on this is taken from the Permanent Waves tour and was recorded in Glasgow.
Yeah, so much.
That's all of side 2. and the rest of them are recorded in Canada on the permanent on the Moving Pictures tour.
Yeah, so this captures a 3-day residency. This one, much like Live and Dangerous, which I mentioned earlier, is a culmination of a couple of different shows, but is mixed and edited to make it sound like it is a one show.
Yeah.
That's one.
I think the interesting
it
one.
works. I don't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it works. I mean, you got great songs on there, obviously.
Yeah.
You got a nice little classical guitar piece that brings in the trees with Brune's Bane, which is Alec Lifeson. And of course, that's nowhere else. It's only on this album, just as a forerunner to bringing the trees in on side 3. I was going to say to you, was there any highlights on this one? But I mean, we've gone all through the tracks anyway. I certainly think apart from going back to All the World's a Stage, 2112, but the other version I loved on All the World's a Stage is Biter on the Snow Dog. I just think that's such a good version of that, really. And Alec Lifeson goes to town on that. But on this album, I mean, yeah, they're all good, obviously. I love and enjoyed the version of Passage to Bangkok on this one. It's just a slightly different mix because Geddy Lee plays rhythm guitar. He's using his double neck here, rhythm guitar on the solo section with bass pedals, and it just gives that a little bit more space for Lifeson's solo. It just gives it a slightly different feel. And I love Pierre doing the old dee on cowbells. It just gives it a slightly different flavor. But that's beside. I mean, they're just little bits and pieces. Yeah, great. I think it does suffer a little bit through the mixing. That's all.
I think every live albums are basically a snapshot of where the band were at that time, and I think it doesn't have the raw energy of All the World's a Stage, but they're not a band running on raw energy anymore. That's, I think,
no. There's a certain
expect their rawness on this.
Well, no,
but the rest of the albums
they've moved on, hadn't they?
It's naive.
And I think the other thing with these albums is it's always quite interesting. They take quite a good cross section of their stuff from all the 4 albums, and then they might just put an oldie in there.
It's just like with Iron Maiden, there's some fantastic recordings of them live at the Ruskin Arms or live at the Rainbow Theatre, Live After Death, where they're playing that arena. I can't remember where it was now. It was called the arena in LA. It's not going to have the raw energy of Ruskin Arms.
Because, no, it's not.
So, but it is a fitting sequel to it. I do think these are.
Yeah.
You can't have one and not the other. You've got to have both, I think. But yeah, I think this is a pretty much a double whammy essential. You need both. Both are good for their own reasons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, we're gonna like I say, we'll plow through them and then we'll do some reflection on
of course.
Right, so the next one then is Show of Hands. I've got to be honest, this is the one I have the least memory of.
Again, well, this is sort of their culmination.
The new wave.
Their electronic new wave-ish. Does actually, it's basically you've got exactly what I've got here. It's just the well, it probably wouldn't be so much because remember, majority of this would have been recorded in America because these were mostly North American tours, although there are a few here that were recorded in Birmingham, and which would be on the Hold Your Fire tour, which is what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the way it kicks in with Big Money. Really, it's quite a powerful. I think it's quite a powerful sounding live album. I think it's a mix between the two. It's got some of the energy of All the World's a Stage, and it's got some of the production value of Exit Stage Left. And I think this is probably more of a better blend of the two. Whereas I think All the World's a Stage and Exit Stage Left are sort of fairly extreme for what they are. whereas this is a sort of a blend of it, to me anyway, just listening back to it the other day for the first time in ages. And I thought, wow, yeah, and I think on this one, Geddy Lee's voice is pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good on all of them, but I think his performance on this is pretty cool.
Yeah, again, you get a bunch of new songs, but you do get older songs, but ones that haven't been. I think the only one that's really repeated is Closer to the Heart.
Yeah.
And
of
you get
course,
Witch Hunt on this, which you don't get on
Witch Hunt is really good on this.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do like that. And Closer to the Heart, it's an extended version, so you've got a live improv of it as well, so it makes it a little bit different. But
only thing is that I think the artwork on this lets this one down.
It's a bit.
Look at that. That's a Rush live album. You know that you'd walk straight past it. You wouldn't. That could be anyone could have used that. The Police. Do you remember a soul band called Maze featuring Frankie Beverly?
Yeah,
they've got an album called "Don't Stop the Dance" or "Can't Stop the Dance." Everyone, quickly Google Maze. Can't Stop the Dance. Look at the album cover.
It's not. It is.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, this was released right at the end of the 80s. So again, interesting to listen to, and again, quite a good mix of the albums, given a live representation. So of course. I mean, I know we're going to sort of reflect on, obviously, again, another drum solo on it. So called the Rhythm Method. So, which is obviously purely live. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was interesting to listen to again.
Like I say, the much like Maiden or Deep Purple for that matter, if you go collecting live albums, I think Deep Purple more so than Maiden, come to think of it, you'll end up with more live albums than actual albums. But is the next one different stages?
Yeah, it's different stages.
Right. I didn't know if I.
And again, this is still continuing the four albums,
right, okay.
and then but this would be the last one in that format.
Right.
Different stages live. Now, I know that you said you've only got the 2-disc version.
Nope.
You've got it, have you? You've got the lot. You've got the 3 with that. The one from Hammersmith Odeon, which was taken from their, I believe, Farewell to Kings.
Yeah.
It's their Farewell to Kings tour.
So this is recorded. So for the first 3 albums, you've got a selection of songs where they've tried not to repeat for the most part. This one, they're not worried about that. This is just a full concert on the Test of Echo tour. But the first initial run of it came with a bonus 3rd disc, which was taken at Hammersmith Odeon.
Yep.
And that was from 1978. So that's a bonus. But yeah, if you go into a HMV today, you'll get a 2-disc edition. You have to track down, be it Discogs or eBay or a secondhand shop.
Again, that different stages, like the first 2 discs, as you said, is the Test for Echo tour, but there are a couple of recordings from the Counterparts tour as well in there.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, it's not many. It's not many. Yeah, it's not many. I would have to go through the whole lot.
With that being said, though, this is awesome.
I think it is an awesome
fantastic album. Set, and again, it catches a rawness.
Yeah, and I think they were conscious of that. They wanted to catch some of their live prowess, and of course, this was obviously at the time of the double tragedy in Neil's life, and they thought that this was it. So that is why it's dedicated to Jackie and Selena.
I see. Right.
It says on there, suddenly you were gone from all the lives you made your mark upon, in loving memory of Jackie and Selena. Because at this point, Peter Taman said, count me retired. He had had enough. He'd obviously, this is when he had disappeared, basically. He'd gone AWOL.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it. And that's why they included this as well from Hammersmith Odeon. Just as to say, this is it, boom. So they felt that there was no constraints. But it is a great So it is a good live album. Really, really superb, as you
I'm
said.
just thinking,
Very
Hammersmith Odeon, 1978. You also get,
because you
mind you, they would do four days at a time, but you actually get a Hammersmith Odeon show from 1978 on this as well.
I've got to find it. I was going to say, is it on that Farewell to the Kings one? Because it must be, because
Yeah,
there's nothing after Farewell to Kings on it. So
yeah.
it must be from that tour.
Um,
Again,
but I think that was 4 nights they did there, so they must have changed chops and changed it or recorded. Well, they would have recorded all 4, wouldn't they?
possibly. I mean, when I see them, they did a 5-nighter marathon.
Oh, whatever it is.
That was on the Permanent Waves tour, though,
Right.
which I assume will be on the Permanent Waves live stuff, because I'm fairly certain they recorded all of them.
The Permanent Waves, you get live in Manchester, live in London, live in London, live in Manchester.
Right. Okay. So
it's a
they've picked.
mixture. But
Yeah.
I think they say in the thing they basically had a couple of recordings. It was the same set. They just cherry picked all the best ones,
Yeah.
and it's in the order of what the set list would have been.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to it, it's seamless. You're not going
to. Yeah, it is. I think. Terrific album. But they really thought that this was it. This was the swan song.
This is a great combination of everything up until this point. Again, fantastic set list, fantastic performances, and it has not quite a rawness, but it's got a punch to it.
Yeah, it has.
That the studio versions of these songs was lacking. When you watch back the series, who was saying that the albums of this top period, I was constantly saying this sounds too sterile, sounds too safe, sounds too flat, sounds like radio rock, and all those songs on here, it's as if they heard me in the future and come back and went, oh yeah, and yeah, and it's songs like Dreamline.
Well, yeah, again a great opener. Again, the albums are pretty well represented of that.
Leave That Thing Alone. Good instrumentals on there as well. Dreamline. Bam, 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 that's the one, isn't it?
That's it.
Again, that song, I was just like, all right, it's good open, I suppose. Bang! It sounds fantastic on this.
It's great on there,
and that also applies going forward. And because we're going into DVDs now, and whenever I hear a song off of that mid period that I wasn't very keen on, it made me go, oh, I've got to eat my hat now, because this song's actually really good. So that was the last one that was released
after 4 albums.
There's been a couple of videos though, but they were they've been reissued on DVD, but
I was going to mention it.
Not officially.
They're not official, but it's.
If you want to quickly run through them,
this box set. It's called Rush Replay.
Right.
It's got on it Exit Stage Left, some of the videos of that tour. You've got a Show of Hands also, but the other one, and like you said about the live recordings, you've also got Grace Under Pressure tour.
I've seen that for sale as a DVD, but it doesn't look official. But
no, it's not got the quality, but you're capturing on, obviously, Grace Under Pressure, very much electronic time for them. It's not bad. The highlight for me on the Grace Under Pressure tour is that they did the 3 parts the 3 parts of Fear, all in one.
Oh, cool.
Enemy Within, Weapon, Witch Hunt, and they did it all in that way, straight after the other. That to me is probably the highlight of the whole thing on that. But the quality and everything is not quite there. The filming is not too bad either, because I've got it as a CD and as a DVD as well. They were the sort of like the additionals. So there is that.
Right. So we'll put that under for completists only.
It's just extras, really.
Right.
They're not the official. So but thanks for saying that, because you reminded me to just quickly.
That's fine, because I knew I wouldn't. I know
Yeah.
there's a few bits.
Well, I'm not going to cover everything. I dare say there's going to be
Yeah.
other Rush fans out there say, "Oh yeah, but there's this and this and this."
And that,
So
folks, is what the comments section is for. If there is
yeah,
a bootleg or a bonus CD or something that you think is a really good live recording, please tell us all about it and get involved in the conversation.
yeah,
Right, going forward, these are now all DVDs. They are also available as a CD, but you're going to get a DVD. So
yeah, of course you
here
are.
we go. Next, then, Rush in Rio.
Wow. Yeah. Well, what can you say? What a comeback.
Yeah.
You know, this was to me, I just never when this first came out, I just didn't stop playing it because it's a return. Neil's back in the fold. You had the great, and of course, it's Vapor Trails, the
On the
comeback
Vapor Trails tour, yeah.
tour. It's the comeback tour. It's the final night of the tour. 40,000 fans making a heck of a racket. And
you see the shots as well.
yeah,
The crowd is massive.
yeah.
I think it's around.
He says 40,000.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is it a New World Man or something like that? But it just cuts to a thing from the back of Getty, and it's just a sea of people. It's
Well, it was that, and it's also on YYZ when they're playing. They're just all bouncing up and down to that and really going for it. And they're saying they're singing, even though there's no singing. It's all they're going with the melody all the time,
closer
singing
to the heart.
Yeah,
Again, Getty doesn't even need to sing it. It's like a football stadium. It's just
they weren't. That was added for them because
that was added just for that show, wasn't it?
It was a massive hit. One of the big favourite in Brazil. So they said they thought we better play it. So, and of course, I mean, what a terrific I think Piet said on this one, he was quoted as saying, on this final night, he said, just there were 40,000 stars in there. He said, and they just elevated us and their performance was elevated. It was just continual feedback. Again, I personally think a superb set list.
Superb set list, but the set list and the performance is fantastic on this, but the main, what's the word? The main thing of this is the atmosphere, basically.
Yeah. It is. That's what makes it.
It's the audience are just eating every second of it, because I don't think they. Well, if it isn't the first time they played in Brazil,
it was the first time they played in Brazil. They did 3 dates.
Brazil was waiting.
Brazil,
breath,
they deliberately finished this tour on a risky note, and they did 3 dates in Brazil. I can't remember the first one. The second one was Sao Paulo, and that was their biggest ever. That was 60,000. But Neil and the guy said they were playing in the driving rain, and it was being driven onto the stage, and it mucked up a load of their gear so much so, which makes this even more victorious, because they had to have another mixing desk for this, because the original one was totally ruined. And so they had to do that. And because of that, they didn't have any time to do a sound check. They didn't have any time to test all the cameras. So they said, we're just flying by the seat of our pants on this one, effectively. It's either all going to work or it wasn't. But fortunately, it worked, and it was all captured. And
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, basically.
That's what you're always trying to catch it, and this time they catch it.
They caught it beautifully, and the sound quality from the mixing desk that they had to use was not as good as their normal one, but it still comes across, doesn't it? I mean, it's still superb.
This is another standard going forward.
I think so.
And what would have been different stages up to this point, but this one just has an edge over it.
I think so.
So next, going forward, R30. This celebrates the band's 30th anniversary. So they give a retrospective tour. Not a greatest hits set, a retrospective set, I think is.
But obviously this coincided with the Feedback album. So
of course, yes.
It's the tour of Feedback.
The covers EP.
Yeah, to celebrate their 30th year. So you've got, again, and you're probably going to say exactly the same thing. The real highlight is how they bring this gig in with the R30 Overture.
Yeah.
Just putting them 6 tracks together and segueing them in. It's fantastic, really. And Fortunately,
opening with Finding My Way. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like just that opening thing straight into Anthem,
yeah.
straight into Bastille Day. Yeah, then Passage to Bangkok. Yeah, and
Cygnus
Cygnus
X1
X1
and
and
then Hemisphere.
yeah, the way they just and it's you got the collage of different video clips
Yeah,
in the
it,
background.
it was superb. And unfortunately, I did see him on this. So I was obviously absolutely overjoyed. It's fantastic, really superb. So, yeah, a really, so not really much more to say. Just a great way to celebrate their 30th anniversary.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to a detail I forgot to add. So
Yeah,
from different stages going forward, this is the start of the band's marathon sets. So
that's true. Yeah, yeah,
at the
it
put,
was.
you get your standard hour and a half show. At this point, you don't get an opening band. You get Rush come out really early, and they do effectively 2 full sets. So you get 12 to 15 songs.
Yeah,
Thank you. We'll be back in 20 minutes, and then bang, another
that's it.
12 to 13, 15 songs. And then you get an encore at the top of it. So yeah, you're pretty much getting a 3 hour,
You are getting your
give or
money's
take,
worth.
show.
Yeah, you are
So
definitely
when
getting
this
that.
is over 2 discs, no, this is 2 full discs, many a double album.
Yeah,
You could fit on one CD. No, this is 2 full CDs worth of work. So the same goes for Rush in Rio, and same goes for R30. Don't bother putting this on about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. You're not going to make it to the end. You got to put it on early.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
moving on, then we've got the Snakes and Arrows. Says it does what it says on the tin with this one. Snakes and Arrows tour.
Yeah,
It's on the Snakes and Arrows tour. Basically, yeah, they're promoting their album, and it's a set list that reflects that. There's a good healthy chunk of Snakes and Arrows.
yeah. There's 9 of the
I think it's
13 tracks on
yeah,
it.
9 of the 13 tracks, all interwoven. They don't come out and go, right, here's the new album and make a point of it. It's all nicely woven into the set. So it's
Yeah.
not like they just go, bang, here's a new album. You have to sit through that and you get the hits afterwards. It's not,
No, no, no. It wasn't like
there's
that.
no, you can't have your pudding if you don't have your, but first you got to have your meat.
Yeah.
No,
How
it's in the,
how can you
yeah.
have your pudding if you
So they
don't
kind
eat
of
your
open
meat?
up with some hits and some rarities, nicely balanced, and then they pretty much do the dedicate the second half mainly to Snakes and Arrows. But again, it's another with these marathon sets, they do tend to find the nice balance between fan favorites and rarities and new.
Yeah.
They
That
do kind of mix the three up quite nicely.
yeah, I've always admired them and how cool it is that they'll put out these songs that you wouldn't expect from the vault. And they, to me, were sort of highlights for a lot of these shows that I saw. Again, I see them on this tour. Again, just yeah, just superb.
I
What
think
more
the
can
only
I say?
problem you've got though, when a band starts doing a 3 hour set, they're expected to do it forever. I think the Cure have painted
Yeah.
themselves into that corner. You had Machine Head, and more,
Yeah.
obviously a
Well,
more recent
yeah. Well, another
metal
one
band.
who is notorious for it is, of course, Springsteen.
Of course, Springsteen.
Yeah,
Bruce Springsteen's been known to do a 4 hour set.
yeah, exactly. So,
But yeah, you do it once, that's it. You're doing them forever. Otherwise, they'll riot.
Yeah, indeed. Again, yeah, superb. And I think I know we sort of glossed over it. Not well, we just didn't.
I just read an interview recently with one of the members of Depeche Mode, and that came up. It was we do 20 songs, and 20 songs is that's it. And there's
yeah,
we would like to do a song with the rarities and thing. It'd be a 3 hour long, but if you do that once, you're doing them forever. He went. The Cure found that one out the hard way.
yeah.
So it must have been a nice little like a wink to they must all know each other, mustn't they? But
Well,
it was just
so,
that
yeah.
Robert Smith found that one out the hard way. Once he did it, that was it. You have to. So
Well, yeah, indeed, and I know that one band who have always steadfastly, well, they've even refused to do encores, was Manic Street Preachers. They would play hour and a half. That's it. Boom, off stage.
yeah,
I think they only ever played an encore once, and that was in Cuba.
the encore thing is a bit of a gimmick, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
an encore should be spontaneous, shouldn't it?
Well, it
Where
should
it's
do. Yeah, I
thank you,
think
good
it.
night, and then
Yeah,
straight back on. It's like, what's the point? It's we all
no,
know.
no.
Yeah,
You got you know, if you're going to do that, you need to. It's getting that balance of making the audience cry out for more and make them wait a little bit, but not over.
yeah,
But of course, you know exactly when it's over because all the house lights go up, so you know it's finished.
yeah.
I know we're rattling through these.
No,
Obviously,
we've got a bit more time now. We're making good. So we got
obviously Rush in Rio, filmed in Rio. R30, that was taken from, I believe was it Rotterdam? I think it was filmed in Rotterdam. No, beg your pardon, Frankfurt, Germany. Beg your pardon. So that was Frankfurt. They started to try and move their filming around the world a bit. So it was Germany for the R30. Snakes and Arrows, this one was Rotterdam. It was filmed in Rotterdam. Sorry. So there's two in Europe there. So they were just trying to mix it up a little bit, whereas obviously previously it was America and Canada. And obviously little intersperses of the UK, which we've already mentioned. So I was just an aside. That was just
yeah, it's fine.
But that's all I've got to say about Snakes and Arrows. So let's press on, shall we?
Let's crack on then. So next up, then we have the Time Machine tour.
Mm-hmm.
This was a bit of another. Not really sure what the point of this tour was. I know the selling point of the tour is that they do moving pictures in full.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this time
they wanted to have a change of pace with this album. They had no contractual obligations to put out another album, but they wanted to just tour just because they had started to write, and obviously you've got two of the songs that were going to appear on the next album.
Yeah, so this was
which
they're going to be playing moving pictures in full, and then the digital single was released, which was two songs from the upcoming album.
And BU2B
Yeah.
in their early form, although there's not really any difference. But this one, it was only when they decided they were going to do this tour that they realised that it was the 30th birthday of Moving Pictures. And of course, to this day, it is still their biggest selling album. So they decided to put it and play it in full, just as a...
One thing I forgot. Different stages also.
Oh, yeah.
2112 in full, actually they do an abbreviated version of it or different longer versions of it. This is the only time they did 2112 in its entirety, not the whole album, but the whole first side, seven
parts of 2112. Yeah, thanks. I totally forgot to mention that, and it's the only time they did it. On this tour.
So you got the whole of 2112 on this one.
Yeah.
All of Moving Pictures on this one,
which are their two biggest selling albums.
Yeah.
So it sort of obvious, really, I suppose, when you look back at it.
But with that being said, there is still some cool stuff on here.
Oh yeah, yeah. There is. There's still a few from Snakes and Arrows on here, but yeah, you have got some. Yeah, you got some really good ones on here as well, which what you would expect. Yeah, and there's a little bit of humor in this, like the polka.
Oh, this is when they start opening with comedy sketches. Yeah, and there'd be obviously comedy sketches in between the.
That's it. Yeah, they were doing this. I mean, they started to do that a little bit on the Snakes and Arrows tour.
Yes.
To be honest with you. So yeah. But it was there was some silly bits in this. I mean, just bringing the concert in at the beginning with the umpire stuff, in the bar. And then of course with I'm trying to think of the bit. Obviously, I think this is the one with. No, it's not this one, is it? No, it's not this tour. With Tom Sawyer and Little Rush,
Oh, Little Rush, yeah.
South Park. I don't know if it's it this
Yeah,
one?
my son likes that.
Yeah. So it's, you've got all of that. I'm just looking at the set list again. Yeah, there are some little funny bits and pieces in this one. Oh yeah, and of course that was the bit I was thinking of. The encore La Villa Strangiato starting off with polka.
Yeah.
You know, it just, and then they just kick into it, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there's a bit of a sense of humour about it as well.
So then next up we have the Clockwork Angels tour.
Mm,
Again, pretty self-explanatory.
yeah.
What's most notable about this is that the band play on the second set. They play with an orchestra.
Yeah, a little nine
Um,
string. I think it's 9-piece
yeah,
ensemble.
9 piece, and they stand along. They're not sat down; they're all standing up, which is a
Yeah, they're
odd.
rocking. They're rocking out as well. They're
You get
definitely.
all sorts of extras and interviews and all that good stuff on all of these as well.
Yeah,
So like I said, 2112 got done in full on different stages. Moving Pictures gets done in full on the Time Machine tour. Annoyingly, I still can't get my head around this, and I don't think I'll ever accept it. They play all of Clockwork Angels on this, except for one song. Why? Why? What? It's a 3 hour set. Why did they think one song didn't need to be played? And it's one of the best songs on the album as well.
which one?
However,
Which one is it?
BU to be.
Right. Well, BU2B, yeah, they didn't do. That was the one they
But
didn't
they
do.
did the rest of the album.
They
Why?
did. They did. Don't ask me why. It
Yeah.
must be some sort of logistical thing. I don't know. But the other thing is they did rotate the set very slightly as well. And I mean, when I saw
That might
them,
explain it
yeah, but they didn't do BU2B at all on this
at all.
tour.
Yeah.
No, they did that on Time Machine, and that was it.
So
Whereas they did play Caravan on this tour as well. But the night when I saw them at the O2, they didn't play Wish Them Well. Instead, I got, because there are some bonus tracks on here, I got, I think it was Middletown Dreams and Manhattan Project.
Yeah,
instead.
that
But
something
they did it for their own, just to vary it a little bit. You know?
something to take into context as well. So say a band does 20 songs on a night, they normally rehearse 25 or 30, chop and change, but you get all of them on the DVD. You get that with Depeche Mode. I think you get that with Iron Maiden as well. Although my Maiden have got very regimented with their set lists of late, but I think there's bells and whistles with every song. So I think the team need to know what they're doing as well as the band. But yeah, so that's something to take into context as well. They would have played. They didn't play the album in full, but they would have made a point to play every song at least once on the tour. So that probably explains something. And BU2B is played on this. So
I think the other thing, and I think possibly the logical thing, is with BU2B, there's no strings on it. It's just
but it's,
and it might have been the reason why they didn't. I know.
Yeah.
I'm just
still a good song.
It's still a good song, and it was. But I mean, as you say, they pretty much play the whole album anyway.
Yeah.
It's again.
So basically, between these two, all of Clockwork Angels is played live.
Yes, it is.
So it's just BU2B's on Caravan, and BU2B is on here. Caravan and the rest of the album is played on here. Yeah. If you went on YouTube, you could probably make a thingy list, and all of Clockwork Angels was played.
Yeah,
so
you can. I think the other thing, they make a quick nod on this one because they play quite a few tracks from Power Windows on this as well.
Yeah. I don't know if that was by design, but a big chunk of Power Windows.
No, they wanted to. They wanted to play.
Oh, they made a point of it, did they?
Yeah, they made a point of playing. I think it's 4, 5 songs they play off the album. I don't know whether it was so many years since it had been released or whatever.
Maybe it's Berlin. They do make a point of maybe Power Windows had sort of fallen into the background by accident, and they went, you know what? There's some gems on here. Let's bring it.
Yeah, I think it might have been a case of that. So they wanted to revisit that. But having said that, yeah, just a great spectacle. A good tour. and it's well recorded. It was recorded in 3 places, whereas Time Machine Tour was Cleveland. This was recorded at Dallas, Phoenix, Arizona, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio. Yeah, that's it. And also in Texas. So, yeah, Phoenix, Arizona, Dallas, and San Antonio. It's over 3 places that they recorded this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, again, fortunate enough to see them on this tour. And I have to admit, they were pretty much on it. It was a really, really good performance. But it always was. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd even a Rush on a bad night.
Yeah, Rush on a bad night
It's
is
still a good. It's still a good gig.
yeah.
You know?
Well, I thought we had a load to work through, but we've gone through it pretty quick. So
we just got that one, haven't
here we
we?
go.
We
We've
just
got one more left, and there's the R40, and
Yeah.
just like R30, really. It's a 30th anniversary. This is
Yeah.
the 40th anniversary, but there's obviously a another twist to this. This
Yeah.
would go on to be the band's final tour, whether they knew it at the time or not. We're not. No, that's everyone's. Well,
I did.
Neil knew this was their last
Yeah.
tour, and I
Yeah.
don't think Alex and Geddy had quite accepted it. But
No.
whilst listening to a podcast interview with, I think it was with Geddy and Alex actually, Geddy said, I kind of knew, wasn't willing to accept it, but it was designed just in case. If this is our last
Yeah.
tour, and it's obviously a 40th anniversary retrospective tour, he designs the set list to be that, even though he wasn't quite willing to accept that it was. So this is a really good set list because it opens with 2 tracks from Clockwork Angels, and then
It just basically goes back.
a couple of songs, 2 to 3 songs at a time, works its way backwards through the catalogue, an album at a time, until we more or less. And then
it's not every album, but it's a good chunk of the albums.
Well, it's least in order, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically goes all the way back.
Not every single album then, but pretty much.
It really does.
Until we make our way back to the beginning. And in the encore, we have Lakeside Park Anthem and Working Man at the end.
Yeah.
And and then you get some bonuses. You can get this is long, folks. This is long. I made a point of watching all of these for this episode, and when I got to this one, it was a bit of a right, okay. And I was like, by the end of it, like
it's about 2 hours 40 minutes or something like that. I think the whole thing, it's a real marathon.
But with that being said,
it is good.
This is fantastic. It is
I think
they're pretty much. Yeah, I don't think there's anything on here that's missing for me, anyway.
No, and you've even got a couple of tracks there that I think Geddy said. He said this is a track that slipped through the cracks, and they played "How It Is," which is from Vapor Trails, which is a great version. Actually, but the one I really liked was them having Ben Mink on stage with them doing "Losing It" with the violin.
Yes.
Superb, absolutely superb, and an undoubted highlight for me personally, just watching it, just really, really loved it.
I would say that this is the ultimate set list, but my favourite Rush song isn't actually played this night.
Right.
So,
okay.
But I would say it still is. But yeah, with that being said, Natural Science, that's a close second, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Did I do the trees on this one? I'm just going to point everything out that they don't play while saying.
No, the trees isn't. No, the trees isn't on that.
It doesn't matter, but they do Xanadu though, so I think that makes up for it. I think you got
Xanadu on there, and I think the real surprise was playing Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Jacob's Ladder, but that was always put on like
my favourite song is. It's there. There's plenty versions of it. So I'd sacrifice that for Xanadu or Jacob's Ladder. And mind you, you get Cygnus X1.
Well, actually, I personally think the Cygnus X1
with the drum solo,
is that is a mean version of Cygnus X1.
Yeah,
I mean, they really are going for it there.
and the drum solo. I mean, you get a drum solo on every album, but the drum solo on this.
Well, you've got.
Well, let's put it this way: if you if that's going to be your last, if that's how Neil as a drummer is ending his career, well, that's the way to end it, isn't it?
I think I'm just looking at. I've got a few notes on this one.
But yeah, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet.
It is a bittersweet. Yeah, it says here. Obviously, we talked about how they designed the set list. It said, except for Test for Echo, Presto, Hold Your Fire, and Power Windows, each of Rush's original studio albums are represented on this wide-ranging set list. Okay, so that's
switch this off.
Okay, and also, yeah, and this is recorded back at home in Canada, Toronto's Air Canada Theatre, and it's all those recording of 6 of the other songs that were not played in Toronto were recorded elsewhere and included on the final discus bonus tracks.
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, it was. I think I did watch one of Geddy Lee's shows on his book, his Effing Life tour.
I think you can pretty much watch all of them in one capacity or another, even if it's just someone.
But he had Alex introduce him, and they spoke about this R40 tour, and they said they really enjoyed it. Neil had pretty much intimated to them that he wasn't going to be doing this anymore, and they said, and they've said it a number of times, they said they would have been happy with that. They just felt that they would love to have done about another 20 dates in Europe. They just wanted to just extend it a bit more, but it was what it was. And they said it was an odd feeling on that final night that Neil Peart, at the end of the show, he came out to the front of the stage, which he never did. And you see the group on the front of them standing together. Very, very, that's the only time they did it. And they said backstage afterwards was weird because Alex and Geddy were sort of lamenting a little bit that this is it. Feels like it. They said, but down the corridor in Neil's dressing room, it was euphoria. It
was a party, yeah.
Yeah, it was a party. And he said, so they had very, very mixed feelings about it. But they were sort of hoping, I think it was like Denial, Geddy had said, we were just sort of hoping that he'd change his mind. But then, of course, they didn't know to the extent of how ill he was and the problems that he was facing. So, yeah, it was.
I always wondered, did he know? It was, the timing is just too, I'm going to say good timing or perfect timing, but the timing was the timing. He made his mind up. No, I'm done.
Yeah.
Don't matter. There was no compromise. There was no debate. There was no meeting. I'm done on this day.
Yeah.
And 2.5 years later.
Well, yeah.
Did he? I just wondered,
I don't know.
Yeah, we're never going to know either. Unless
we're never going to know.
Apparently, a book we've got a Neil Peart book coming out soon. His wife is has announced they've been editing it and making sure it's. I don't know if he had finished it or if they just compiled notes or whatever they've done. But
possibly.
I mean, these things they always sit on because it's.
Well, of course.
But apparently we've got one more book coming out, so I don't know. But
well, we'll have to see what
did they go. Look, we've detected this, so over the course of time, you can expect that, and that's when because he said, I'm starting to notice I'm not to the standard.
Yeah.
Well, just don't do a drum solo then. Let's do shorter sets. No, this is the standard. This is me at 100%. 99% isn't good enough. That was basically what he
Yeah.
said. He
Yeah,
said
it's it.
100% or not at all.
Yeah, it
I'm not.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was interviewed. And I know that on this particular tour, the R40, he'd come off a stage every night and he was in a bit of pain. He had to have his shoulders and that ice packed and all this sort of stuff. He was aching quite a lot. So I think physically, at this age, he was 60.
And I guess, again, I don't.
62.
Yeah.
So 2015, this was filmed. And of course, 5 years later, he passed away.
Is it 5 years? Sorry, I thought
Yeah,
it was
2. It was 5 years. Yeah, 2015.
But again, could he have got a scan or a thing in there gone, look, we've seen early signs of this? And
yeah,
I don't know. You never know.
You don't. I think whatever the reasons were, I think he'd gone to the point. And with this, he pushed the boat out. He played 2 kits. He went back to his double bass drum set up for the second half, just as a bit of nostalgia.
I think
and the fans loved it.
If they'd gone to him, well, can't we just do 20 more shows? 20 more shows and then we're done. His answer probably would have been, it's not going to be 20 more shows though, is it? That's what he probably would have said. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I go, it's not going to be 20 though, is it? It's going to be them 20, then it's going to be another 20, and it's going to be like, no,
I think so. Yeah. I think the thing, and again,
and obviously with his personal life, where he'd lost his family before, he'd got a new family. He had a new young child.
He wanted to spend as much time as he could with his family.
He felt guilty being away from home so much.
I think on the North American tour, it wasn't so bad because he said, I can, between shows, I can fly home and be home and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But coming to Europe and further, he's going to be away for big stretches of time. And he'd obviously decided that he'd had enough. But I think physically, I think this tour sort of took it out of him anyway, these 30 odd dates or whatever it was that he played. And I know it's probably not it's not the ending that Alex and Geddy wanted. They said they would have been happy with 50 odd dates in all doing the tour. They would have been happy. But again, it is what it is. At least they got to do something.
Yeah, at least they got an end of some sort.
Yeah.
It's an end. No one, not everyone. Well, not many people do get to choose their end. So as far as band endings do go, you can't ask for more than that.
No, I don't think
20 more shows would have done if that's as bad as it's got.
I think they actually. I'm sure they said that. Yeah.
So on and so forth. Yeah.
I think they said that anyway. They said, well, if it is that, then it is what it is, and they still got to do it. So at least they got to do and celebrate their 40th birthday. So
right. Let's get to the let's get to the difficult part then.
Yeah, here we go.
What is the
careful.
Right, let's try that again. What is the penultimate? What is the definitive? Here we go. That's a good word.
The definitive live
album.
It is it's such a difficult one to quantify because they all have so many highlights. But I guess for me, the ultimate, just because of the complete atmosphere and the crowd and that
ticks all the boxes. Yeah,
it's Rush in Rio for me.
I would say as well for me.
It's
Rush in Rio.
I mean, it's pushed by some of the others.
I'm slightly verging on R40 to be honest as well. But what I would say, if you are a casual Rush fan and you want, like, if someone said, "How do I get into Rush?" or whatever, I would actually go try that. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
This one, I would say, I slightly prefer the set list on this one, but you got to be a Rush fan for this one.
Yeah,
and that's what I would say. I would say, let's go through it. I would say, Clockwork Angels. These 3 are all really good, but you need to have done your homework. You can't just go in this one. Maybe this one's pretty good fun because you got moving pictures in full.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, I do really like the set list on this one, but I think you need to be a
Yeah, I would say so.
this I would give to anyone. Yeah.
Again, I think this is just because it's so difficult to choose, and it's a tribute to the guys
Yeah.
of Rush. They are all so good. It is so difficult to pick a winner, so to speak. Clockwork Angels, superb. And of course, I've got my own memories of obviously going to these gigs as well. But the R40 Spectacle, I would agree with, but I do have a bit of a soft spot for the R30.
Yeah.
As well.
I think what's it called? Bloody Different Stages has got a really good set list as well. And I think this one is I think a lot of people forget about this one.
Yes, I do.
So yeah, that's really good. But yeah, for me, it's got to be right. But I would also.
It's got to be.
You need that. You definitely need All the World's a Stage, because there's just a raw heaviness. It's an effortless listen where the album just plays itself. There's just a certain energy on this album that you just got to hear it to fully grasp it. But yeah, technically speaking, in terms of all the set lists put together, a good overview, plus just a great performance and great atmosphere, it's the best one to give to a casual viewer. I think
it's the one I've always.
There wasn't not much of a debate really. So
no, but the point is, there may be differences of opinion for the other Rush fans out there, but for me, it was just something about that. It was just that euphoric return after the double tragedy, and and just the crowd, everything. It was just all come together, synchronicity, and it was just wow. And I would have loved to have been there. I would have loved to have been there for that one.
Well, folks, that's it. That is your crash course to the Rush live albums. I think we could have added more, but I think we would have gone into waffling territory. I don't think there's really anything.
You start going into specific songs and whatever, and we've already talked about them at length.
And yeah, of course, there's going to be little knickknacks that we would have missed, and of course, there's bonus tracks and bonus discs, or bootlegs. I'm not even going there. And like I say, with bands like Rush, you get a live album with every tour, more or less, and it gets to the point of you could have possibly more live albums than you have actual albums. Like I say, those special editions of those albums with the bonus things, they're all worth getting as well. But yeah, draw the line somewhere. I think we pretty much covered it. What's your favourite live album? Did we get it right? Did you agree? What do you think is underrated? And join in the conversation in the comments below. As ever, thanks for watching. If this is your first show, please do go along to the beginning. Look on the playlists. The whole thing's saved there for you, Rushcast. We were going through every single Rush album, an episode at a time, and we've gone through the whole back catalogue, and we're just tying things up now. And then, join us next week for the final Rushcast episode, where both myself and Paul will be presenting our top 5 Rush albums. We'll be counting them down together, and I wonder what our number ones will they match. What will we cross-reference on? What will we, will they match? What will we disagree on? So I'm really looking forward to this one, and it's going to be a challenge. Top 10 is too easy. We're doing top 5. So
thanks for that, Joe.
You've got to be ruthless. You've got to make sacrifices on this one. So top 5 with a honourable mention. We'll give a bit of flexibility on that. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join us for that. Put together your top 5 albums in the meantime as well, and put your top 5 in the comments to that show. That's a bit of a homework assignment for you. And apart from that, I wish you all a good week, and we'll see you next time for Rushcast. Thanks for joining me, Paul. And
pleasure.
Take care of yourselves and everyone around you.
See you later, folks. Bye.